up until I retired for the first time, after I left Everton the second time, after I retired, then up until then, that was normal. I started off in League Two. Then with Preston, we got to the Championship, and then I got the big move to the top. I had 8 years there. That's more normal. What I've done in the last 3 years and 11 clubs, that's just a phenomenon of the fact there's no physios and the fact I'm available, the fact I still love football, the fact that I'll go anywhere for a week or a month or something like,
Yeah.
So it isn't usual. It's not a great career choice if you're making your way in the game to work at so many clubs. But obviously, I wasn't like that. I qualified as a physio, and then I did 7 years at Preston, 8 years at Everton, 5 years with the England teams, a couple of years at Man Utd. So that's more normal.
Yeah, okay. But let me tell you, I didn't know you before I read the book. I found the book hilarious, really good, a really good read. Also interesting to Accrington Stanley seems like a very well-run club.
Fantastic. As is Harrogate, as was Tranmere when I was there, as was Crawley. They're all well run nowadays.
Okay.
Have you read my first 2 books, Jakob?
No, I haven't, and I can assure you, I will have Chris send them over to me.
Yeah, the 3 together, I've got to say, are amazing, and they're all very different, and they're all dark. Number one's very dark in particular, and it's a difficult read. People say it's the funniest book ever been written, but it's not supposed to be funny. It's painfully funny, but in a kind of Jesus kind of way. And then book 2 is very expansive about all these different teams all around the place and that. And then so they all fit really well.
Yeah, I'm certainly going to get hold of those first 2.
You won't be disappointed, Jakob. Honestly,
I seriously doubt that after reading this one.
They're fantastic.
The third one is well, I read that and that is good.
Well, thank you.
One thing I thought that struck me was you are obviously, not least considering your age, fit as a fiddle still.
Yes.
And on your Wikipedia page, it says I don't know who's written that, but it says you drank and ate yourself out of the game. What brought the change about?
No. So when I was have we started yet?
Yeah. Go.
Right.
Yeah.
So I start when I was at school in the 60s, in the 70s, 70 to 75 mainly. I was a fantastic runner. It was a grammar school, so a high quality school. So I was top of the top stream. So I was the highest academic achiever in the whole year. I was a fantastic runner. I'd won Birmingham schools, 800 metres, and I was really good at football and rugby. So I've always been naturally a really good runner. You'll read this in the first book. When I got to Preston and when I started to enjoy football again, I slipped into a heavy drinking phase, which was a big culture at the time. Yeah. Eating, drinking. I remember we had a cross country at Blackburn. Howard Kendall was the manager. I had to walk. I was in such a bad state. But then I got back to being the best. And every club I ever played for, every club I worked for as a physio, I was always the best runner. Even today at Harrogate, I did all the running with the 2 injured lads, every single run, every step of the way. And I think this story is maybe in my second book, I don't know, or one of the books. When I was at Everton, I won the bleep test by a whole level. So I was about 45 then, and the lads did the bleep test in the morning. And I said to the fitness coach, when they've all gone, let me do the bleep test. I want to have a go. Anyway, I won by a whole level. And I said to the fitness coach, don't tell Moyesy. He told Moyesy. And Moyesy got us in the next day and says, I'm furious. My physio's won the bleep test. He's 45. I'm not happy with you. But anyway, Dave said it tongue-in-cheek because he knew from Preston I was a fantastic runner, Yeah. And afterwards, all the lads are saying to me afterwards, oh, Baz, you're horrible. Fancy saying that to the manager and getting us all into trouble. It was a big laugh. It was really funny. But yeah, I've always been a really good runner. It's my kind of unique selling point. So even today, I'm 67 next week. Even today, I've been out at Harrogate. I've done loads of running, loads of press-ups, loads of football, loads of passing. And it's my hobby, it's my life. But I would say it's my unique selling point because I talk about it in my second book when I'm starting to feel a bit old. and I talk about how I got the fastest time in the cross country. And I say in the book, rhetorically speaking, why does it matter? And I'll say, this is why it matters. With the new guys coming in with all the new stuff, iPads, theories, all that kind of stuff that I don't understand, I don't want to understand really. If I can still be at the front and I can still run with all the injured players and pass the ball and that, it doesn't matter that I can hardly switch a laptop on. It doesn't matter.
No.
The day I can no longer do that, then you may find you haven't got as much to offer. But in my second book, when I'm starting to feel old and distant, I had this kind of road to Damascus thing in the Caribbean looking at a volcano. And then I realised that, you know what? You're not old, Baz. I was 60 then, 60, 62, I don't know. I realising I'm not old. I'm hugely experienced. And these guys with the laptops, bless them, who are going to be great one day, they'll never be me. They need to play 450 games and need to put 30 years in as a physio. And really, why should I be threatened by a guy printing off stuff off a laptop and that? They can't be me. They can't run with the players. They can't. Today, I got 10 balls out on the halfway line. One of the lads was in the D. I hit 5 my left foot onto his chest, 5 my right onto his chest and that. Hard work for him. And they can't do that. And I'm not kind of glorying in it, but it made me feel secure in a way that, yeah, they might have this, they might have that, they might know all the latest research on tendon pathology. Doesn't matter, because they're not me and they can't be me. And they will probably give everything to be me and to be able to go out with the players. And to that, I say in my book, look, anybody can sort a hamstring gait. Very few people can make people laugh. Very few people go into a medical room and lift them and raise the spirits and just get everybody laughing and optimistic and positive. And on them rainy days, with the player who's very down and that, to put your anorak on and go out running and passing and sharing the running and that, that's a very, very powerful thing. And to always be upbeat and optimistic and that. We used to have a lad at Everton called Josie Fiobo. He said to me, Baz, you're always happy, you always smile. I said, yeah, because I'm with you every day, Joseph. And there's a truth in that. But part of our job, even on our worst days, and I've had many of them, is to laugh and joke. And that's the job I say to all young physios. Look, with scans and consultants now, we're not missing anything, right? Them days are gone, we might miss a diagnosis. So our role increasingly is to be optimistic, show the players you care about their injuries, and work with them and get them right in that.
Yeah.
Show enthusiasm. That's the job. Players are interested if I can describe the 8 carpal bones, or draw the brachial plexus. They don't care about that, but they want to come in and they want, when they're down, it's raining outside, they want to see Baz with his coffee, laughing, joking, telling his jokes. We've got some great stuff today. Me and you out on the pitch, we're going to do some finishing, then some shuttles, then we're going to do some press-ups, then we're going to do some boxing. It's going to be a great day. They need that. That's the job.
Absolutely. Since you brought up your time on at Everton, do you think leaving Goodison for Bramley Moore, will the modern day Everton fan miss out something special not experiencing Goodison, you think?
Up to a point. And when we left the old training ground to the new training ground, and when I worked at Man Utd, the people who'd gone from the Cliff to Carrington, they all kind of told the same story. Well, you have to move on. The beauty of it is the Hill Dickinson Stadium is incredible. They've kept Goodison for the ladies as well. So that's only about a mile away. So it's a kind of, it's moving on and very much a nod to the past. And the past still lives there. And the past is kind of looking across and nodding, this is great. I think if the Hill Dickinson wasn't so fabulous or was 10 miles out of town, that would be different. But this is, it's not, it's the perfect next step and the natural progression more than sorry, goodbye. So it's worked out fantastically well. It's tied in perfectly with David going back and reigniting it. They've taken a strong squad that's sprinkled some magic on it with Jack Grealish and Diblin and that. So they're in a great position now. It looks really good for Everton.
Do you have a favourite moment experiencing Goodison from the touchline?
So many times. I think I think when we beat Man U in the semi-final at Wembley on pens, that last pen going in and means we'll go into the cup final, which someone of my generation, it's the only show in town. Less so nowadays. One time at Everton as well, I was there when Wayne scored that goal. That was my third game for Everton. That was jaw-dropping, and that was the announcement of the best player of a generation. We all knew it anyway at the club, but that was the kind of official unveiling of this generational superstar. There was a time when we finished fourth, got in the Champions League. It was our last but one game. We played Newcastle at home, and we got to 2-1. It was tight and that. Then the ball fell to Tim Cahill in the box. It was a really nice day. Bang, 3-1. And the scenes there. And then we walked around the pitch and everybody stayed in and that. I've been lucky, you know. I've had so many, I call them champagne moments, Jacob. I've had so many in my life, and my son's had 3 or 4 as well as a player now. Like, we've had some bad moments and some crappy moments. But, you know, some people go through a career and have none of these champagne moments. Twice with the England teams, we won the Euros and that. And when I played, we got promotion one year and got in the playoffs one year. And, you know, so I've probably in my career had like maybe a dozen champagne moments. And some people will never have any. So I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Was Wayne Rooney the best young player you ever saw?
Trevor Francis in the early days was generational. But yes, Wayne was. And all through my first book, because I had no confidence when I was a young player at Birmingham. And the book's a 35-year journey to success in the cup final as a physio. But it's about doubting yourself, and it's about anxiety, and it's about underachieving because you're terrified of playing. And the first years at Birmingham, the top division, are very, very dark. So the book carries a fascination through me of that kind of anxiety and performance anxiety. And I tell a story in my first book. For me, it's that quest. Why are some not nervous? Why are some nervous? Why was I terrified? Because I was such a good player. Anyway, it's now 30 years later since I've left Birmingham and I'm now at Everton. I tell this story. It's the first Merseyside derby for me and for Wayne at home at Goodison, 4:00 Sky game. So I'm getting ready, hour and a half for kick-off. I'm nervous. I'm not playing, but I'm nervous. I'm only the physio. My hands are sweaty. Wayne comes into the medical room. He's kicking the ball against the wall. And I say, Wayne, relax, enjoy. Don't be too nervous. He goes, Baz, I'm not nervous. But in a funny kind of way, Jacob, I needed him to be nervous. I needed that. I closed the door, went to him. I said, mate, it's okay to be nervous. He goes, Baz, I'm no more nervous than if I was going out to play in the park with my school friends. And I say in my book, and in a nutshell, 30 years of searching for me, that's it. Some people are born to be at that level and some people aren't. And it's confidence and it's that inner self-belief that I didn't have that he has. And it's really interesting. And then when I started being a physio at Halifax in the 90s in front of 2,000 people, I noticed the players when they came in looked really nervous, tense and that, like it was a massive big deal. Fast forward 35 years, I'm at Anfield for the Merseyside derby, or at Man Utd, or at Chelsea, or at Goodison when they played Liverpool maybe. And your Nevilles and your Cahills and your Tim Howards, your Carses, your Kev Kilbans, they're coming in, they're laughing and joking. And I say in my book, that's the difference. These guys are born to be at the top. And yes, they're good players, but the ones in League Two are good players. The ones at the top, I guess, are slightly better players. Of course they are. But it's more than that. It's that innate belief and that understanding that this is where you live. And the ones at the bottom, like, everything's a problem, everything's nervous and that, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I saw that in that time at Everton. Something I've been looking for and searching for 30 years. You know, why was I scared? Why was I so nervous? And I kind of concluded, I say in the first book, it's just innate, it's part of who you are, what you are, that self-belief. And you can't really arm round your shoulder it. You can't, come on, you're fantastic it. You know, it's in you, it's what you believe, it's your DNA, for want of a better word.
Was there much debate about giving Rooney his debut at such a young age at all? So I'm still at Preston, right? I come back from training one day and it's April 2002. And Moyes goes, Baz, have you got a minute? I go up to his office. I goes, what is it, Dave? He goes, I'm going to Everton. I said, when?
He said, "No." I said, "No." So he went, he got in his car and he left. He left the clubs to sort it out, So he wanted me to go. He wanted me to go there. I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay at Preston in that comfortable Championship area, 7 miles from home, no pressure on me, always trying to avoid pressure. Anyway, I went to Dave's house and Dave said, "Look, come to my house." It was pre-season 2002, so he kept him up the last 4 games. He's phoning me every single day. "I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I want to stay at Preston." So I think, right, I'll go to his house. And to avoid turning down this once in a lifetime opportunity, so I don't hate myself, if I ask for so much money, they can't do it, then everyone's fine. They've said no. I've asked, I would have come, but you've said no, you can't. So I'm in the clear, you're in the clear. So I knock on his door, he answers the door. "Hello, Dave." He's not the gaffer now. I can call him Dave. I can call him Moyes. I can call him Moyesy. I can call him whatever I want. So we sit down, he goes, "Baz," he goes, I need you over there. I don't think I can do it without you." He said, "We're not great. We only just stayed up last season." He says, "But we've got a player coming through. He's 16 years age and he's going to be the best player of his generation." I said, "Can you tell that at 16? He goes, "Not normally, but with this kid you can, because he's been in with the first team and he's a level above the first team already." So I think, right, and I've got a wife and I've got kids and that, and I want to test myself in a way, even though I'm a bit of a scaredy cat. I do want the challenge of the Premier League. You always want to test yourself, and obviously I want to earn that fabulous wages for my wife and kids. So Dave goes, "Baz, come on, I need you." I said, "Okay, Dave, I'll come." I think I was on £40,000 a year, which was quite good back then, 20 odd years ago. I said, "Dave, I'll come. I want double the wages." I said it. I can't believe it. I actually spat it out. I've done it. I said it. I never asked for a thing in my life, Jakob. I asked. Oh my God, I don't believe it. And he said, "No problem." And that really threw me, because I thought I was on my way out. "Baz, we can't do that." "Well, I can't come by." Right? Then I said, "I want bonus." He said, £200 a point. I went, "Okay, a nice car?" He said, "Yeah, I think get maybe an E-Class Merc or something." It's the deal. And I got outside and I thought, oh my God. I thought, what have I let myself in for? But also tempered with the fact we're rich. Me and my family are rich now, in real terms, So it was a strange experience, the whole thing. And obviously I went there. You've not read the first book, have you? So, but there's a classic story. So the guys at Preston are saying to me, "Oh, Baz, please don't go. You're hated at Everton. We've heard the players in the Prem hate physios. We've heard Big Duncan Ferguson hates physios. So I've got to go. I'm getting the money. I'm getting the bonus. I'm getting the car, and I've got the kids and my wife and that. I've got to go." I get there on my first day, pre-season 2002. It's a really hot day. I'm nervous, I'm sweating. That's me. That's what I do. So I sit in the car, but then I think, this is for your wife and kids' future. I bravely got out the car. It was a hot day. On that day, I had some faded jeans on, a denim jacket, and a yellow and light blue check shirt. I walked across the car park, and I'm stood in the foyer, just stood there. I then hear a big booming voice that I now know to be Big Dunk, and he shouted, "By the way, have you clocked a new physio? It's Bob the effing builder." And everybody laughed. And then Jakob, he kicks the door open like in a Western in the saloon, and I see him filling the silhouette 10 yards away. He comes up to me and he goes, "I'm Big Dunk. I've finished a few physios' careers." I said, "I'm Baz. I've finished a few players' careers." And he laughs and he puts his face in my face and he goes, "I like you." I said, "Right, thank you very much." And he walks away. And then Kevin Campbell, God rest his soul, Kev comes out, he goes, "Baz, I'm Kevin Campbell." Like I didn't know. He goes, "I'm club captain. Everyone's heard so much about you. Everyone's so excited about you coming to the club." And I say in my book, I was in, and that was it. And it was magic. And the players in the League Two, League One, Championship, and the Prem, they all like the same stuff. They like the jokes, they like the banter, they like to come outside with Baz, and they like to run, and they like to do shuttles, and they like to kick the ball, and they like to do press-ups, and they like to work and work and work, and then they like to go home like everybody else has done. And that's how I've always done it. And I say, you don't treat Wayne Rooney's tight calf different than one of the Harrogate Town players. The tight calf's the tight calf. You don't play favourites. We've got a young lad at Harrogate now who's having a few problems. I'm doing everything I possibly can, and he's my Wayne Rooney. He may or may not ever play professional football. He's a pro. He may never play in Harrogate's first team. I think he will. I hope he will. But the point I'm making is he's the main point of my focus now. And if I was back at Everton and it was Wayne's problem, I wouldn't be putting any less time into this kid than I would into Wayne. And I've always been like that. I've always treated everybody the same. I had some really tough times when I was a young player at Birmingham. It's all in the first book. You will read it, and that, like, you know. Somebody asked me the other day, what did you deduce from all that? What did it? Any regrets? Do you regret any of it? What happened to you? And I said no, because it made me super empathetic. And how badly I was treated as a young player at Birmingham, it made me ensure that I would not treat people like that. And I ensured that I would treat everybody I ever met in football as I would want to be treated. I hope everybody's like that. Sadly, many people aren't, you know. So all those bad times made me a much, much better person. And as I say, I would treat the most humble first-year pro like the most expensive signing. And that's the way I've always been like. So those really tough times at Birmingham back in a lifetime ago in the mid-70s, I think I was a good guy, but that made me a really empathetic, caring person. So everything happens for a reason, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, you must have worked with Tim, or you have worked with Tim Cahill as well. He had an amazing leap to him. He was not the biggest guy, but he could certainly leap. Well, was that all down to hard work and determination, or was there something genetically?
Well, he's Australian, so he's probably part kangaroo. Yeah. Having said that, Jakob, I don't know if you know this, his dad's from the East End of London.
No, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, no. And he worked on, I believe I'm right in saying, he worked on fishing boats, trawlers, whatever, outside Australia, New Zealand, I think, and met Tim's mom in New Zealand, and they went to live in. So Tim's dad's actually from the East End of London, hence Tim going to Millwall. I'll tell you a great story about Tim. He was a fantastic player. So everybody looked at Tim at Millwall scoring these goals, but thought, no, not Premier League. But Dave, with his insight and I guess a more humble budget, we looked at Jags, Bainsey and him in particular, and they decided, no, we're doing it. So I go to do Tim's medical, and we go to a hospital for MR scan, because I don't know what it was on, blah, blah, blah. And then I say, right, congratulations, you're fine, you're going to sign your contract now back at Goodison. And he broke down. He was so emotional, he was in tears that he signed for Everton and made it to the top level. And I've done 100 medicals, Jakob, and I've never ever in the past known a player so emotional or so pleased or proud or humble to go to the Premier League that Tim was. And you know what? He come from Millwall. He very quickly got in the World Cup. He became the first Aussie player to score against Japan that wasn't an own goal. He then became the face of Weetabix over there and become a household name, became a millionaire. He never changed. He was exactly the same guy, as were a lot of the players there. And that was due to the culture at the club, driven by people like Davey Weir and Stubbsy and Lee Cars and Kev Kilban and that, you know, good players, and everybody worked for each other. So those first years at Everton were magical, because even though times were changing and all the foreign stuff, which is great, was all coming in, the new stuff and that, we managed to somehow bring it in but retain the heart and that. So it was a fabulous time, that kind of transition to old school to the modern stuff. It was seamless, but somehow, because of those people and David particularly, we maintained still where you can breathe and have a laugh, and we're not robots and that. So it was a magical time at Everton.
Why do you think David Moyes has managed to stay in the game so long?
He has all the right ingredients. He's an extremely nice guy. He probably wouldn't want me to say that. Like, you know, he likes to be maybe, you know, tough and stern. Anybody who knows him as well as me, he's a fantastic guy. I won't say he's barked worse than he's barked. He would hate that. But he's a fantastic guy. He cares about the players. The players would healthily moan about him in a good way that you want. They would do that. They would healthily moan about him. But they all knew, when David's the manager, you're going to have your best years as a player under him, and everybody knew that. he has that blend of being a very good human being, fantastic knowledge, fantastic reader of the game, understanding of the new stuff, but knowledgeable that the big thing is to win your personal battles and stuff. I'll tell you a great story about Dave. We just got all the new sports science stuff going and that, like, and great, it's here to stay. And one day, it was like the hardest day of pre-season, was the last day of pre-season, and we did the horseshoe runs, and they were hard, and it's like more or less a full lap of the pitch, and you've got 60 seconds, and you're running flat out. It was a really hot day. It was the dreaded last hardest run. Sometimes we do 6, sometimes 7. Anyway, I used to do it with the players as well. We'd done 6, and everyone had got in, but lads were on the floor. A couple of lads had been sick and that, like, and we're on the floor, and we're waiting for the dreaded one more, or that'll do you, lads. Anyway, we're on the floor, and Moyes goes, one more. The fitness guy comes, a foreign guy, lovely fella, but he's watching it all on the telemetry, 30 yards away, the heart rates and that. He comes running over, he goes, David, no more, too much. Their heart rates are through the ceilings and that, like, you know what I mean? And David turned to him, he says, I don't give a about the heart rate stuff. I don't give a F about your fancy machines. I want to see the man who can wipe the sick off his chest, get on the line and get me in one more time, because I'm going to Chelsea in 2 weeks' time for the first league game, and they're the guys I want on my team bus. And there was a great truth in that, and it taught me a lot about the mentality of running as well. And I've done loads of runs. Nobody's ever died in the running session we put on and that. And there's a room for sports science, and there's a room for digging deep. And yeah, we accept what you're saying to the guy, we get that, but this is not about physiology, this is about heart. So that was that day, and we saw a lot of the blending of the two. It was very cleverly done. Yeah.
Do you think returning to Everton and with the new stadium, is that a dream come true for David, for Moyes?
Yes, definitely. His whole journey, his whole path. He had some really tough times. He was brilliant at Preston, brilliant at Everton. Then Man United, I say in my second book, because I was there, I wrote a chapter on the Man U years. My first 6 months were Ferguson's last 6 months. Then I was with Dave for nearly a year, and then Van Gaal came in. And I say in my book, if they'd have given David just another 3 months, the start of next season, I honestly believe everything would have been so different. Then he went over to Spain, then went up to Sunderland, which was a poison chalice and that. And then finally, I guess like everybody, he would probably say got his mojo back, and all of a sudden, you know, he's ready to go again. And then I saw him a couple of times back at West Ham, and I seen the look on his face in the dugout, and I thought, he's back, this guy's back. I texted him, I said, Dave, you're back, mate. And he was back, and he just needed a couple of years just to relax and that. And as I say, I was telling one of the lads at Harrogate today, he asked me about David and that. We're talking about his half-time contribution. And to sum him up, I've sat with managers at half-time when I've been the physio and we've been losing, and they've come in and they've just pulverised everybody. Nihilistic, negative, unproductive rubbish. Yeah, just hurling insults at all the players and that. Dave was brilliant. So him and Alan Irvine would go into the office next to the dressing room at half-time. Players would be sat down. Let's say we're a goal down at Goodison. They're all sat there. I'm in there attending to outs in there. Dave, Al, Taffy come down from the stand, the bird's eye view. They have a quick meeting. Dave would then come in. He would then, if it needed it, he would go into some of the players that are always the big hitters. He wouldn't go into the young lads and bully them. If that to be said, he'd say it, and he'd usually pick out your Nevs and your TCs and your Tim Howes and that. Not good enough, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, you need to put your ideas where you'll be sat with me. Then, that's the first phase. The second phase, now listen, this is what we need to do. We need to get tighter. We need to push in. You need to come in from the touchline. You need to move the ball quicker. And you need to get the back four out 10 yards. You're far too deep and all that kind of stuff. And then everyone in a huddle. And then the third facet of that kind of thing was, right, listen, we're a goal down. There's 40,000 fans behind us today. We dig deep and we come strong. We can still turn this game round. And he was magic at that. And I've never seen a manager with that ability to be able to do those three facets. Go into people, rearrange it tactically, and then a massive big loving, come on, let's go. And he was the best at that.
Do you think he has the Scotland job in his sights? at some point?
Hang on, let me just.
Excellent. Yeah.
I guess that would be a lovely finish to his career. I guess that would complete the CV. But I think he would probably say he's got unfinished business at Everton and that, like, you know, he left them when they were a bona fide top 6 team, pushing for you. And I think he'd want to see that again. And you know what? He's got unlimited energy and it's unbelievable. And he demanded so much of his staff. He demanded so much of me, but never more than he would do himself. In fact, he would always do more than every other member of his staff, so nobody could complain. Because if I'm thinking, wow, this is tough, I look at him and think, wow, he's doing a lot more than me. So he led by example. A great leader leads from the front, and he had that as well. Like, he had great leadership skills.
What did you make of Arsene Wenger's red zone and refusing to play players who were reaching that phase of overload?
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story about that. This is all additional information that we can take or leave, and it's just more information. Let's not look upon it as anything more than that. But I heard Arsene Wenger was the guy who brought all that in. But I heard him interviewed a few years ago on the radio, and that question was asked to Arsene Wenger. Of course, Arsene, you brought it that now for players in the red zone, he doesn't play. Any sports science say that he won't play. Arsene said, no, let me stop you. I take that information seriously and I think it through. But if I want that player to play for the team, he will play. So he was clever enough, and David is, to marry it up. Yeah, thank you for that information. We get that. However, I hear what you're saying and we're going this way and that. So he was very good at disseminating the stuff, so he's not letting the sports science team pick the team. No chance. And Arsene Wenger wasn't. But he's humble, he's bright, so he's listening to the point of view of other people, but he's essentially going, right, thanks for that. However, I'm going to go this way. And that's what he was really good at as well.
Yeah. But you talk a bit about it in this third book as well, but the drive of technology into physical training, do you think it's been positive?
I use it sparingly because I'm old-fashioned. But I do use it. So, for example, we've got a couple of lads at Harrogate now. One's got a minor thigh strain, and one in particular has been out with quite a long-term hamstring strain. So I want to bring him back up to speed slowly but surely. So I've got certain runs that I know if you do in that time, you're hitting normally 80, and then I've got another run that if you get in that time, you're hitting 90. So I've got loads of them. However, it's great when I've got the sports sciences guy like this morning next to me, and I'm saying, right, I'm looking to take this lad to about 85 to 90 today. We're nearly back playing now, and it's great that he'll do a couple of runs and then he'll walk back and that. And the fitness coach, Ben, he'll say to me, 82 that one. I'll say, right, just a little bit more on it. And then Ben will say, right, 86%. Great, that's us for today. So it is handy to use. I don't live my life to it. I speak to the fitness coaches every day. If I decide that, no, he needs to train harder today, I'll train him harder. If I think he needs to do a line run or whatever at the end, he'll still do that. But I respect their jobs and I listen to them and I take it on board and that. And, we warm up properly, we recover properly. Do I believe in all that stuff? No, because I never did and I never got injured really. But I'm in a minority and I don't disrespect those guys. So I lean into them every day and I ask their advice on stuff and that. And I don't believe nutrition's massively important, but I'm in a oxymoron. I'm in a huge minority there. And I would never say to a player, it's a load of rubbish. If he said to me, oh, I'm going to have a caffeine tablet, what do you think? I would say, well, what do you think? Do you feel better? And if you said, I feel better with one in, I say, well, they do work then, don't they? Even though I don't believe in most of that stuff, I'm not nihilistic enough to rubbish it, and I would never do that in front of a player.
No.
So whether it's a placebo effect or not, I don't think anybody really knows. But if I say that's a load of rubbish, the placebo effect's gone. So I'm a good team player. Maybe I wasn't always like that. As I've got old and I've seen the old guys move out of the game because of that kind of prehistoric mindset, that I've managed to be the same guy I was 30, 40 years ago, but I understand all the latest stuff and I'm au fait with it and that. It doesn't mean I have to do it all, but I've encompassed it and I encourage it and that, so I think I've moved well with the times.
Did you ever have any disagreements over what you were thinking, and then another guy came in with some technical ways of monitoring players, for instance?
Not specifically that, because I embraced it and I can still do what I want because I was in charge of everything anyway. We had a situation with a couple of fitness coaches at Everton, one in particular who didn't last long at the club. It was a friend of mine, and my argument is, if a player's still technically injured, then I will do his rehabilitation, because it's not your responsibility to look after an injured player. So until that player is completely fit, signed off and ready to go back into training, he will stay with me and I will take him out. Unfortunately, if that means you've got no work to do, that's not really anything to do with me. So the way we work at this football club is I keep the injured player with me until we're happy the injury's over and he's up to 100% speed. He's worked in environments where when the player's 70% fit, the fitness coach will take the rest of the stuff. I don't believe in that. Others do. I don't. I think the medical guy, because it's my responsibility, stays with the injured player till he's no longer injured. There's no risk of re-injury. This guy didn't like that, and he was quite vocal about it. And sometimes he would boot the door open and say that's BS and all that kind of stuff. But we still remain friends. And I said that's just the way it is, mate. And I still do that to this day, because as I say, we've got a lad with quite a complex hamstring problem, and if that goes wrong, which touch wood it won't, I won't allow it to, but if it goes wrong, it's got to be on my watch, not a non-medical person's watch.
No.
And that doesn't mean that guy couldn't go out and put on the same session. Of course he could, but it's not his responsibility, it's my responsibility. So that's a line I draw.
Now, your time at Manchester United, is it true your role was as a loan manager? You came in as a loan manager. Is that true?
Yeah. No.
Could you take? No.
I'll tell you exactly. Yeah. So when my first book came out about me having no confidence as a player, incredibly, I became the guru of confidence. How weird is that? I had no confidence. I'm now the expert on the field. My son was at Man Utd as a young player at the time. I knew the doc well from when I was at Everton. He was at Man Utd when we played them, and the other guy was Brian McClare, the legend at the club. They read my book and they thought that they had an under-23 squad with the likes of Sam Johnson, the goalie, and Jesse Lingard and Michael Keane and Andreas Pereira and Tom Lawrence. They're a fantastic bunch of young players, and they felt having somebody around who lived it, experienced it, written about it, suffered with it, could be a great help. So I went there and I would talk to the players on the first day of pre-season, tell them about me, my stories, what went wrong for me. Then I would say, guys, I'll never mention it again. You come to me. Some players would come to me. We'd go away from the ground and sit and we just discuss it. It was always performance anxiety and that like. And it's called containment, where I would say, I played 450 games. I poo myself for everyone with nerves. I can't remember them now. Do you know that 98% of people in England don't go to games? We may be having a coffee in Manchester. I'd say, listen, if I stop 100 people in the street, 98 of them won't have a clue who you are, because when you're struggling you think everybody's looking at you. They're not. So I did that. I also felt that looking after the lads on loan was a good idea as well. So I went to the training ground every day. I went out on the grass. I joined in with the football, the running. I was around the lads, laughing, joking. If Nicky bought or one and Joyce said, Baz, can you take Tom Lawrence for some sprints after, I'd take him away and do some stuff, because I've been a manager, been a player and that. I'll go in the gym with them, join in and that, we'd have a laugh and a joke. And I looked after the lone player. So I had a kind of multifactorial role. So that's what it was.
Do you think a position like that has become more and more important over the past decade?
Well, it's become more prevalent. Every club's got one or two now. I don't know if it's important. I don't know, because when I was at Birmingham and I was hating every minute of it and didn't want to be a footballer anymore and just couldn't kick the ball 5 yards to save my life, when I went on loan to Blackburn, I wanted just to pack in, but they said, no, come on, go on loan for a month. You're too good a player. Go on loan for a month. When I went to Blackburn on loan and got away from the killing fields of Birmingham, 120 miles away, all of a sudden I felt better. I was playing well. It was division below what's now the Championship, but I was in the team every week, and I felt better about myself and about my football and that. Like, the last thing I would have wanted then is somebody driving all that from Birmingham to come and give me a load of whatever, overseeing me. So I'm not sure whether, if we send them on loan and then we wrap them in cotton wool and we mollycod them, we look at their running every day and we go and speak to the manager. How's he doing? Oh, he did well today. And I spoke to the sports artist. They say you're doing well. I spoke to the bloke in your digs. He says you're a really nice guy. There's an element of, come on, he's a man. You've got to make it in your own world. And you go up there. We'll send someone to watch your games. Obviously, I'll watch the clips of the games. But let's not mollycoddle you too much, because at the end of the day, these lads are 19, 20, 21. And I left Birmingham for Blackburn when I was just 20. And I managed to get on the train myself, book into the hotel myself, get to training, train well, get in the team, play in the team. I didn't just want somebody holding my hand all the time. And I think an element of the low move is that ability to go out into the unknown on your own and survive and make it. So I think too much support's not a great idea.
Okay, that's a good point. You were there for the ending of the Sir Alex Ferguson era. How did you find working with him? For him?
Unbelievable, mate. I'm there on my first day. I'm on my first day at Man United. I don't know what to expect. I've never had a role at a club where I'm not the physio. So I'm there and I go in on my first day. And Warren Joyce, who I play with at Preston, who's the manager of the 23s, he says, "Come on, Baz, get changed." I thought, thank God for that. Because to do the job, you need to be inside it, out on the pitch with the players, running, laughing, passing the ball, joining the boxes, doing the press-ups and that. So you want to be a big part of that squad. So I'll tell this story in my second book on the Man United chapter. So I go in and I'm, the boxes where there's two in the middle and I'm on the outside. I'm on the outside and everyone's looking at this old guy and wondering what the hell's going on. And the ball gets shuffled to me by Jesse Lingard. And then the thing stops and everyone's waiting for me, this old, frail old guy. And Makeda closes me down. So I slip it through his legs back across the box. Everybody stops. Everybody's laughing and that because I've knocked Meg Makeda like. And then, even better, this is my first day, we go to the side of the pitch and we're going to do some hard running in pairs. And Nicky Butt says, "I want to see a winner." And the run is from the side touchline, near 18 and back, near 6 and back, far 6 and back, far 18 and back, far line and back. And it's a race. And that's a tough run. Anyway, Shinji Kagawa comes over and he says, "Warren, I've been out for 6 weeks. Can I top up fitness?" And Warren goes, "You can run against Baz at the end." So everyone's laughing. So the races go on, I'm watching them and that, and it's competitive and that like. And then at the end, me and Shinji come on. Lovely guy. I feel like bowing to him like, because he's Japanese now, like, Anyway, we start off and it seems, I say in my book, it seems like I've waited my whole life for this moment. So first liner back, second liner back, we're neck and neck, the lads are all cheering, "Come on, Baz," everyone's laughing and that. Third liner back, fourth liner back. Now the last run, we get to the far touchline, and I say in my book, "I'm sorry, Shinji, you seem a lovely guy and you're undoubtedly a world-class player, but this is my day." And I just changed gear and just left him for dead. so Jakob, he gets back, everyone's on the floor laughing, he's laughing his head off as well, like, But then, as if things couldn't get any better on my first day, I'm going in and Sir Alex sees me and he opens the door for me. He goes, he goes, and he's with Tony Strutter, the fitness coach. He goes, "Mick, I'm just telling Strutters about your book, how you don't like fitness coaches," which isn't the case. I think, God, Alex Ferguson has read my book. He knew I was coming. He's gone to the trouble of going through my book. And that was a powerful moment. And he was unbelievable because, Jakob, I thought, right, he's going to be some miserable Scottish sod. That's what I thought. I couldn't have been more wrong. He was friendly, charming, super knowledgeable, just a lovely guy. The old thing, he knows everyone's name. He knew everybody's name. And he could hold court or he could sit and listen. He didn't want to be the centre of attention. He was absolutely incredible. And I was there on his last day. And he come over to where me, Nicky Butt, Warren and the young lads were. I said in my book, "God, how am I here?" And he comes over and he's got the Sermon on the Mount. He goes, "Sit down, lads, sit down." He goes, "Warren and Butty, they're hard on you. But that's for a reason. This is the heaviest shirt in the world. And to go over the bridge to them boys and put that shirt on, you need to be something special. And you can't be a wilting violet. You've got to be a man. You've got a big heart. And we have to make those people over here. And I'm there, I'm thinking, wow, how am I here? Like, unbelievable. So, yeah, it was fantastic, that, yeah.
Were there a lot of cheers on his last day?
Yes, very much so, yeah. It was an incredible experience.
Yeah. Could the senior players at Man United have done more to help Moyes when he was there through that first season?
No, they had some bad luck. They had a horrific first 5 games were really hard. They had a few injuries. Nobody did anything wrong. You know, the narratives that maybe come out, that maybe you allude to, I don't know. I didn't see any of that. Dave was probably lost a little bit of energy and that, but Dave, the training was the same. Dave was pretty much the same. The players seemed the same. So the idea that they weren't, I didn't see that. That may have been the case. I didn't see that. It was just a combination of, after what had happened in them 20 odd years, whoever had gone in would have found it virtually impossible. The very difficult start, they had a few injuries as well, and maybe the team getting a bit older as well. It was like the perfect storm that happened for Dave and that. But I tell you, if they'd have stuck a bit longer with him, I'm positive it would have all turned around.
Yeah. And you, obviously, you were with Moyes at Everton and then saw Fergie at United. So in terms of stability, and also you've had experience from a variation of clubs at different levels. Is there something to be said for backing a manager and his staff long term, even through tough times?
Always, because you'll always come through, and if you give somebody long enough, half of the result, 50% of the result is out of your hands. It's the ref on the day, it's how well they play on the day, it's the bounce of the ball. That went an inch wide, that went an inch in. That probably wasn't a pen, but it went against us that day. And those things contribute, and that can bring you a bad run, injuries, stuff like that. So if you stuck with the rubbish managers, they would eventually come through. There's no doubt about that. But we don't live in that world anymore, do we? We live in the kind of world of instant disposability. And I don't think there's a manager in the Premier League who could lose 5 games on the trot. When I was a young player in the 70s and Freddie Goodwin got the sack at Birmingham, that was like headlines for weeks on. Then it was sensational. And now it's 50 words the next day and he's gone and the next guy's in, and then the next guy's, he's lost 5 on the trot, lost the dressing room, he's got to go. And that's the world we live in now. And it is what it is, isn't it? That's just modern football.
Yeah. Now, your son Oliver is with Wrexham, I believe. That's been an incredible rise for the club. What do you think a club like Preston could do with similar investment?
Preston North End. I think to get to that next level, you need massive investment, don't you? I mean, Preston are doing great. Preston's a town of a city of 130,000 people. So I think for them to be comfortable in the Championship, it's a great place to be. The days of the Tom Finney, the 50s, 60s, 70s, and Blackpool had Stanley Matthews and Rovers had Tom Finney, players were kind of confined to the club contractually and that. And because everybody earned the same money, there's no point that your great players going elsewhere. So the local plumber, Tom Finney, played for Preston, and Stanley Matthews, Blackpool, and Dougie, Brian Douglas of Blackburn, that played for his hometown team and that. You know, that's obviously gone. So it's very difficult to recreate that. For teams like Preston, who haven't got loads of money at the moment, but you know, Baxi put a lot of money in when I was there and that. For teams like that, I think if Preston North End can maintain Championship status, I think it's good. I think that's where they are. And what will happen is, every year you'll have that incredible run of injuries, rub of the green, bounce of the ball, decisions, and now you can get the 5th, 6th and get in the playoffs. And clubs like Blackpool, Huddersfield, Wigan, Preston, they can get in the Premier League now, you know. So I think they're doing okay.
Yeah. But what have you made of Wrexham jumping through the divisions, particularly when you compare to like Salford City, for instance, who are still stuck in the League Two, apparently?
Yeah. I mean, Wrexham had all the ingredients to take off. It was a very, very old club in its own town with a big support, a traditional die-hard support. It had that fabulous Welshness about it, so that individuality. It has a really nice ground, a lot of acreage around it, and good facilities and that, like, you know. So it was a good place to invest. So they had a chance by investing there. Salford, I worked there 3 times. Salford, lovely club again. There's not really the fan base, you know, and it's very hard to suddenly create a fan base. But I think Wrexham now, the ground's obviously getting redone, could probably now in the Championship get. I went to Stoke last Saturday. I think there was 5,000 or 6,000 Wrexham fans. I think for home games now they're getting 18 to 20,000. So the money they put into Wrexham, it gathered momentum quite quickly, and the fans started coming back. And obviously the TV documentary helped as well. But they were kind of, Salford was new ground. Wrexham were pushing a team that in the 80s were in the Championship anyway. That they were pushing them back to where they belong, really. Whereas Salford was a whole new deal, and that with a kind of a very young and not massive fan base. So it was quite a different environment.